Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me today is Andrea Miller from Hy-Vee. She is a registered dietitian and our dietitian for Talking Fitchburg. Nobody knows that, but I'm saying it right now that you are. Andrea, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Glad you're able to take the time and help us and the viewers out with your great tips. Today we're going to be talking about basically the grocery shopping. It's changed, obviously, and we want to make the trip safer, which a lot of stores, including yours, have done, and it's a new experience for all of us, and we're getting used to it, but also making it efficient as well when you do head out, which is what you want to do, is get in and get out and get what you need. So we'll start in what are some of the measures that have been put in place well, specifically, you know what's happening at your stores, but similar at a lot of other grocery stores across the U.S. But what are we talking about here as far as what you guys have in place?
Sure. So our store, including a lot of the other stores in the area, have really been using the social distancing recommendations as kind of the start of changes that you'll see or have already seen in the stores. So that's a matter of from the cashier or the customer service desk, noting that you're 6 feet or more away from that person, in between customers when waiting in line at the aisle, or excuse me, at the to check out. And then also one big one is we put one-way arrows throughout the store. So we're not crossing individuals within the aisles, because the aisles, aren't very big. And so it's hard to do a 6 foot if you have one person on each side of the aisle. So it takes a little getting used to, but once you kind of get the hang of it, the flow actually works out really well.
Yeah, and as we'll get into talking about the planning here of doing that, grocery stores are typically set up to make the shopping experience efficient in general. So even before all of this had started, things are strategically placed, whether you want to share all of that or not, but things are in a good way. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but to help make your shopping experience a little bit easier anyways, right?
Right. Yeah, the one big difference is we would like people to kind of enjoy and kind of wander in our stores and make it an experience. So that might be a little bit different, because we do kind of want to be a little bit more efficient when we go shopping now rather than wandering. But you're right. I mean, we try to have wide aisles to begin with, make it comfortable for people to move around so you're not so crammed together, and then flow from one department to the next. So we're trying to still keep some of that as well.
I only say that because I worked in grocery for it was my first job, and had no clue going into it, but then after working there for so long, you're like, oh yeah, I guess that does make sense how this lays out. But I digress. Let's talk about the planning process, because this can make or break, I think, what could be an easy shopping experience or not. If we're putting a plan together, where would you even begin to start with?
Sure. So this is important, because we're kind of in a stage where we've been here for a while. This has been going on for a while, and maybe once this all kind of started, we may have just gathered a bunch of food, not really knowing what we were going to do with it, and now we're kind of looking like maybe this is how grocery shopping is going to be for a while, and maybe some of these changes are going to be long-term changes. So is there a way that we can do things differently moving forward? And one of the things that I really recommend is taking the time to do some of that planning before you go into the grocery store. And that might sound simple, but for people who are used to kind of just going and getting what they need at the time, that might be a big transition to make. So one of my first recommendations is to take an inventory of what you have at home. So what's in your pantry, what's in your freezer, what's in your fridge. This can prevent you from buying a lot of excess that you don't need. It can help with your budget, so you're not just buying things that you already have in your cupboards at home. Take an inventory, and then from that, see what kind of meals you want to make with what you already have. and maybe you just need a few supplemental items to finish off a couple meals, right? So kind of starting with that
Yeah, I
part.
think we, of course, you have like the last cream of corn. You're like, where am I going to get that in? But yeah, I
Right.
think checking ahead at home is great. Looking at if you were to stock up on some things, I look at it like at chicken, like for example, like I can use this in so many different fashions. So,
Right.
I'll make sure to pick that up because I can mix that in. But if you're
Right.
looking at stocking up on certain items, do you have any recommendations there? I know it's kind of a loaded question, but
Yeah. So I mean, there's still some strategic things you can do. So that's a first good thing is to look at something like, let's say your family really enjoys meals made with chicken, then that would be a good example to go from. If you take that a little bit broader, if you're not shopping for specific meals, what you could do is make sure you're getting foods that are represented in all the food groups, because meal planning honestly is as simple as just doing 3 or more different food groups at a meal, and you've got balance and you've got variety already figured out. So if you shop for a variety or all 5 of the food groups, then when you're ready to put meals together at home, you have it all there ready to go.
yeah, and I'm betting this next question helps in that and making things a little bit more interesting. Uh,
Yeah.
Instead of just switching totally to a different diet, what can we do
Right.
here, now that we've gone into this? And this is something that the Crosby household is definitely interested in knowing.
Right. There's certainly, there's certainly a category of people who are loving this because they love cooking and they love food and they love trying new things. But there's the reality, there's also a bunch of folks who are really annoyed with cooking so much at home or just getting kind of in a rut with things. So if you do have other people that you're living with, whether it's your family or roommates or whatever, and you've been kind of hunkering down together, maybe if you haven't already, trying different things, not taking it so seriously, not thinking of it so serious as a chore, but can you do a theme night or do breakfast for supper, or can you do different things, even, have something where you do even a few decorations that your kids could make and change the music up for dinner time, different things that might be interesting. I also encourage people not to underestimate what other people's ideas are. I mean, your 3-year-old could have an idea that could shock you, or could assist in such a way that she gets more, involved with the meal. So including other people, keeping it simple. Like I said, 3 or more different food groups, that makes up a meal. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. Get other people involved. And then even one other thing is just kind of, maybe you take something that you really want to master. You really want to, start doing homemade pizza. And so you start practicing pizza dough or different toppings or things like that. So make it fun. You don't have to take it so seriously.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good advice there. Real quick, a lot of grocery stores and stores in general do have the online shopping component.
Mm-hmm.
For somebody who's never tried this before, I found
Mm-hmm.
it a really good tool, not only for great budgeting purposes, but
Mm-hmm.
for planning as well.
Right. So if you want to try this, or if you have been doing it, if you have your list of foods that will help you make the meals that you want to have on hand, and then if you can log right on. We're going to include the link that goes right to Aisles Online. We're also including the 1-800 number that's specifically customer service for Aisles Online. So if it's somebody that's not very comfortable with the online environment or really would like to talk to somebody to get their account set up, they can call that number and talk to somebody. But in general, what I usually tell people is if you do it once and you put, the food in that you want to get and you pick it up and it's all there, or most of it's there, and you do it once, you're hooked. So they bag everything where you put it at home, so it's very efficient. All your refrigerated stuff comes together. You're frozen, you're dry. And so once you kind of go through the process once and see how it works, how you can leave messages for the shopper. If you want a few green bananas and a few yellow bananas, you can do that. Once you do it once, then you kind of see how the flow goes and you build your confidence up a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty slick tool to have.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of retail chains have gotten into this, especially now more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a try if you haven't already. Andrea, thank you so much for the tips today.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it. Stay safe out there, and we look forward to having you back on the show real soon.
Okay, thanks so much.
All right, that's Andrea Miller from Hy-Vee here in Fitchburg. Well, she's serving most of the Madison locations here, so you gotta say hi and say talking Fitchburg, please, so she knows that she's getting good tips or the tips out there for her. All right, we'll take a break. You are watching Talking Fitchburg.